Hey, Mason here with the second video of the league, an update on my character. So for context, my character is level 97, and I have 38 Divines and 2,600 Chaos, and my time played is 11 hours, 1 day 11 hours, which is, I would say it's a bit not that long for what I normally would play in the week start. Basically, it's been a week, right? So I got really busy with real life stuff, so I basically haven't been able to play that much, but I've been able to keep up reasonably. Sanctum is still okay. And I've been doing relic quant strats with balance of terrors. So it's just very standard what I did last league as well. So I just show you my relics. I bought a bunch of balance of terrors, and I'm doing relic quantity. I have like 80% relic quantity, so nothing exceptional. So I wouldn't really say you need to push for 100, but if you have the money, you might as well spend it, right? Because what else are you going to spend it on? That's more or less it for the character. I'm just going to be saving up for Mageblood now. There may be like 1 or 2 small upgrades, which I will talk about in the POB section. But I'm going to save up for Mageblood. I'm going to grab my Mageblood, and then I will see if I feel like doing no-hit runs. The main reason is because the relics themselves, the no-hit relic, original scripture, is extremely expensive, which means it's going to take ages to actually get to buying one in the first place. It's like 200 Divines already. So I'm just like, we'll see how it goes, but I think I will still try for this. I might just practice no hits without the relic because it's just too expensive. I can't actually afford it. But that's the idea anyways. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the character itself. Actually, I'll just go straight through the POB. So let me just turn on POB. All right. So if you've never used POB before, there's a bunch of loadouts here that should show you every stage of progression that you need to kind of be aware of. But I'm going to walk through them quickly and maybe a bit of reading. So over here, I have very extensive notes on what you should be doing. But we'll start with the first Sanctum. So first Sanctum, you will get to the end of Act 7 around level 50 or level 55. Then you will start doing Heist. For Heist, you want to do Demolition, lock picking. However, there are some other options that you can do. I'll just pull up the list right now. Give me 1 second. Okay, so Demolition, lock picking are your priority, but because sometimes you might not get enough of those contracts to level up, which will refresh your contract window. You will also want to do Perception, counter Thaumaturgy, Thaumaturgy, whatever it's called, and Engineering as well. So this will be at the end of Act 7, basically when you're about to do your third lab. Then you want to buy your first item on Leaguestart. Your first item will be this item, because this item is generally the most expensive, and it will spike probably after 2 or 3 hours. So around the 6 to 9 hour mark of Leaguestart, this will spike and probably double or triple in price versus like 20C, which is where it starts at. After that, you buy the rest of the gear. This ring here can be the taming or just a random rare ring, a ruby ring for virus. But the rest of it's all very standard gear. So once you buy all that stuff and you buy all your gems up, make sure that while you're leveling, you want to level, let me just double check which ones you want to level. Oops, that's the wrong one. You want to level these gems here: Spellblade support, Energy Blade, increased crit damage, Discipline, Penance of Dissipation. You might want to buy this early so you can start leveling it early, so you don't have to do lab, Zealotry, and Animate Guardian. These will be your gems that you're trying to level up as soon as possible. This is right when you in the campaign, basically. So once you get this start up, you should be good to do. I think it's like around. What is it? It's like 3 million damage on paper, but I think it's probably like a 1 million or so. Let me just fix this right here. You can see how much it actually does. Yeah, 1.7, 1.1 million damage. Easily enough to do Sanctum. I have a Race Spectre gem in here, but it's not using anything, so just keep that in mind. But you want to look for 2 specific Spectres early. The main one is, I don't think I have them named here actually. It's Paint Artist and Spirit of Fortune. Paint Artist gives you Zealotry. Spirit of Fortune gives you Wrath. Look for the non-perfect versions early because they are cheap on Leaguestart, and then when you get to later, upgrade them to the perfect versions. So after your first few Sanctums, in my case, just double check how long it took me. I'm trying to open up my desktop. Yep. Okay, so in my case, it was probably I think it was probably 3 or 4 Sanctums because I had 2 Divines on my first Sanctum. Once you have that, you want to look to upgrade, and your first upgrades will be 3 pieces in particular. It will be 5 link chess piece, Repentance, which is gloves with high strength value, and Astromentus. What this will do, currently you see my gloves are Callissus, which is for the 5-link. My amulet is just some like attribute amulet that's really cheap and really bad. And my gloves are just this one here, right? So what you would do is your first upgrade will be this loadout here. You will swap out your gloves for Repentance. You'll put on Ghost Wreath, and then with 5-link, and then you will put on Astromentus. This will boost your damage a bit more. This is a bit misleading. That just should be a bit of great damage. Basically, you'll go from like 1.5 to 3 million damage, and this will be around level 78. And then for your next set of progression, it's all on the notes here. You look for stuff like flasks, right? Flasks, early specters, they may be cheap or expensive depending on their prices. If they're expensive, skip them until later. These 3 pieces, and then you'll be looking for magnate and scuffed clusters for quality of life. So currently there's this loadout right here. You see, there's no clusters, and my belt is the Bated Breath. But if I go to the next one, we keep the Bated Breath, but we've swapped in clusters here. So this is level 81. You can see this is my skill tree. Once you've done this, the reason why clusters matter is because you're looking for this notable called Remarkable. You just want to ult spam until you get this. And if you have 3 of these, which I do, so I've got 1, 2, and 3, 35% adds up to more than 100%, which means whenever you cast a brand, you get an additional brand, which means that you can proc Runebinder, which requires 2 brands immediately as soon as you get those clusters up and running. It's quality of life, basically. So once you've done that, you're looking to buy the Magnate belt. It's written over here, the Magnate. So if I skip down again, and the Magnate right here will give you, you want to get 400 strength for this. So currently you can see my strength is 450, and the easiest way to get strength is clicking these strength nodes here. So if you don't have enough strength, click these nodes here. Otherwise, you can also path here for 20 strength here. This one doesn't give you any strength, and you also want to change the start of your skill tree to go down here for a bunch more strength here. So this will give you a decent chunk of damage. On paper, it's like probably, I think like 7 mil. Okay, it's 5 mil to 8 to like basically 5 to 10 mil on paper. And at this point, you can do 83 Sanctums, but they are scuffed. That's why this is called scuffed 83 Sanctums. My character level is also level 88 here. Okay, and then for the next kind of set of upgrades, I went for Perfect Spectres, and Spirit of Fortune, the perfect version, has an effect that gives you lucky lightning damage, which means this ring that I've been using, which is not showing the extra line it gives, but it says that your damage is lucky while on low life. That ring is no longer very useful because you're getting the lucky effect from your Spectre, which means that you should be looking to buy the Taming Ring. So skip down again. This is level 90. You see that my Taming Ring is here now, and I'm not sure, but I have this new link in my POB for Spectre damage, because otherwise Spectres won't be calculated properly. So I'll just show you what that looks like here. You can see here that on my first race Spectre, I have Perfect Pain Artist, and then on my second race Spectre, I have Perfect Spirit of Fortune, and it does actually boost my damage. So if I turn this off, I'm not sure if it's actually showing. I think it should be like config. If I turn this off, you can see my damage goes down. So they give you a ton of damage, those 2 Spectres. But around this stage, this is when you just get your Magnate and your Spectre upgrades. So right here, and your Taming, you should be good to do Sanctums relatively okay. Like unless you get really, really bad debuffs, it should be fine, and you shouldn't have any significant issues. However, depending on your experience with Sanctum, take this with a grain of salt. So for example, if you're not as experienced and you're having issues, then basically just hop down a loadout. So say like you want to get this loadout first before you do your Sanctum at that level. So you maybe do 75s to 80s for a bit longer. So at this point, this is the comfy level 83. You also want to grab your 4th Ascendancy. So right here, just a FYI about this, the way this is worded is like the upgrades are not exactly on the loadout, but you'll see them very close to the loadout, basically. So the next one is you get better clusters. So over here, you can see that this better cluster POB, the loadout here. Sorry, this one right here. First one is Anointing. I'll just go back quickly. So Anointing, Divine Judgment, this node right here, relatively efficient. And then you want to do your 4th Ascendancy. So you want to grab this node right here, or you can grab this one here, but I like this one here personally. And then you want to get a 6th link. So 6th link for chest is 5 blue and 1 green. If you go with 5 blue and 1 green, you will put in hypothermia. But if you have full blue, you can go with increased crit chance to help cap your crit for consistency early. Otherwise, I do recommend just going hypothermia with the green link. It's not that expensive. Okay, so now we go for better color clusters now. So that's this one right here. Better clusters involves you pathing up to brand equity here. So you look here, before I didn't have it, now I do have it. What I personally actually recommend is that you might drop this and go here early, then grab like this instead. So you want this notable is important because it gives you duration, but these also give you duration too. And this is important for once you get to the better cluster setup, where you will swap one of your supports over to Swift brand. So this one here, you can see here my previous setup. If I scroll up, over here, faster casting. And then now, once we get that cluster, that node at the top and better clusters, we go for Swift brand. The reason why duration is important is because Swift brand makes your brand have 65% less detached duration. Less attached duration. So it basically has way less duration on the enemy when you place it. So if we quickly go up to the level Concrete Sanctum one, you can see here that activations per brand is 34. And it doesn't say the duration unless I go here, but it should say 8 seconds and 10 seconds. I think it's 10 seconds on the floor and 8 seconds on a target. But when I go to the better clusters, you see that this drops to 3 seconds and 4 seconds, and the activations per brand is 19. So it's much, much worse in terms of the length of duration that a brand can sit on the enemy. The reason why this matters is because the way Penance brand works, every time it ticks, it gains increased damage up to a maximum of 10 ticks. So 20 ticks, but if you have 2 brands, it's 10 ticks each, and then all your damage after that will be at the maximum. So you want to make sure that you have lots of activations per brand after 10, so above 10 basically, so we've got 9 here. Otherwise, your Penance brand will just fall off immediately as it's ramped up to max, which will feel extremely bad. So that's why better clusters and this notable is important. Better clusters is important because Grand Design gives you brand attachment duration, and there's also one here. And for the last one, I've picked the Seeker Runes, which is, you can use Grand Design here if you want. These are relatively expensive, and there's no good way to craft these except Alt, Org, Regal, Exalt spamming. There's no other way to craft those, unfortunately. These are much cheaper because Seeker Runes is pretty easy to get. Okay, so that's this part here. Soft with Swift brand. You want to get better clusters in 3 joules. So previously we weren't clicking any of the joule sockets because we didn't have enough points. Now we are. So that's like a bunch more damage. And the last one is you can look for a very cheap Bitterbind shield with good crit roll. So in my example here, my character, I got a Bitterbind with 100% spell crit chance per Ray Spectre, and I have 2 of them, so that's 200%. But I don't have the extra +1 Max Spectre, so this is cheap. Normally, you'd get the +1 Max Spectre and run the Hydra Spectre, but it's very expensive this league. I don't know why. I think someone's playing Spectres, so just get a really cheap one. That's like basically a dead roll. For other builds, that is. Okay, so that's why I write here, you skip it. So right now, you should be around the 15 million DPS mark. This means that you will need 2 brands to kill Lycia. Your first brand, you place it, it won't 100% hurt. It will probably do like 60% of her HP. So you need to make sure that in the fight, you want to place brands to start. This is in 3rd phase Lycia, the part with the lightning. You want to place brands to start, and then you want to place another set of brands middle of that fight so that they attach again as soon as your first set of brands detaches. Okay, so what does that look like? I'm going to show you an example here. This is my character. I screwed up the starting place here, so ignore that. But we'll skip straight to the end. So over here, this is just whatever. Place 2 brands, blink over her, then place another set of brands, and then just wait. That's fine, she dies in 1 set of brands. Here's the part that you need to keep an eye out. You need 2 sets of brands to kill her here. So in a second here, I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. So I place my brands ready, I dash, then keep running around her, and then I place my brands again right there. Try and slow it down a little bit. Back right. So that was my first set of brands going, and then I place another set of brands in a second here. You see, right here I place them in case the first set of brands falls off. So generally, on POB, you will need, this is 15 million DPS, you will need 30 million DPS to kill her with 1 set of brands. So you place brands once, she will die from 100 to 0, not including debuffs or buffs or whatever. And with around 15 million, you'll probably do like 60% of her HP with 1 set of brands. So you need 2 set of brands. So that's kind of that part here. Once you're at this point, at 15 million DPS, you can either 2 options. Okay, so the third option is you keep playing Energy Blade Penance brand, and you push that all the way to the max. So in that case, you would need to, that's covered in this video here, and this video here. It's basically pushing that to max. The other option is you do what I'm doing in this league and you swap to power charge stacking. So why would you want to swap to power charge stacking? The main reason, which I'll show you right here, which is the transition into PC stack. This one here, the level 95 POB. The main reason is this chest piece here gives you 6% increased move speed per frenzy charge, and you have 9 frenzy charges because you have Badge of the Brotherhood, which sets your frenzy to your max power, and you have 9 power charges from Void Battery, and a few other random stuff like stuff on the tree, nodes on the tree and stuff. So that's kind of why, the main reason why you want to play this. 1, it does more damage than Energy Blade. 2, it scales cheaper than Energy Blade to get to much higher levels of damage. And 3, it runs faster, but you are more squishy. So you will die if the mobs have 50% increased damage, like they deal 50% increased damage, and you get hit by Flicker Strike Knight, stuff like that. You will die. The rest of them I haven't died to yet, but the Flicker Strike Knight you will die to, I think, if you get hit by it. So that's kind of the disadvantages and advantages over power charge stacking versus Energy Blade. The main thing with power charge stacking is it's good if you're more experienced at Sanctum. So I'm more experienced because I played a lot of leagues. So for me, speed is important. And I also played the Energy Blade setup last league without using mercs, so the videos are still relevant. But because I played them last league, I don't really want to play it again. And I wanted to try something different. So I was going to try power charge stacking this league. But the Energy Blade setup is very good. It's still very solid. It's a little bit slower, but it's not significant. It won't disadvantage you significantly. And it's also much easier to transition off into like cast on crit, into like actual mapping and real gameplay instead of just Sanctum. The power charge stacking setup will basically sit in Sanctum permanently. Like you cannot leave Sanctum with this character. You have to make a new character or full respec like your entire character. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of the 2 decision trees that you will go down. But I'm going to walk through the power charge stacking setup now because I did the Energy Blade one last league, and you can go check out those videos if you're more interested in information for those. Okay, so at level 90, at level 94, I'm going to start transitioning to power charge stacking. The main thing you want to do is you want to buy pieces that are both relevant for both sets. The first one is Rallakash Impatience with Frenzy Charges. You can use this on this build currently, the Energy Blade setup, and you can also use it on the other setup too. So it's being able to be used on both sets. It's very, very, it's a nice quality of life. The other one that I think I mentioned here, I'm trying to check my notes here. So the first one is Rallakash with Frenzy Charges. The second one is a physical 3 notable cluster. This is not as good for Energy Blade. It doesn't give you much damage. But if you look at my previous setup here, I have no notables here, right? And then still here, I still have no notables. And then over here, I put on the notables that I use for my power charge stacking setup, that when I swap, I don't have to swap this cluster jewel. I don't have to rebuy a set of cluster jewels. That's kind of the idea. This barely gives you any damage, by the way. So you see, unallocating this node gives you minus 1.2% damage. And over here, it's like 4%. So it basically gives you no damage, but it's what you want to use when you're using the power charge stacking setup. So I don't want to rebuy my clusters. Those 2 are the kind of things that you can buy. The next thing is that you need to know that a Gruthel's Pelt is mandatory for your Animated Guardian for the power charge stacking setup. The reason why is because you have haste linked onto your Guardian here. So your Guardian is using Animated Guardian's Blessing, which makes it have an aura, but it makes it take damage over time, max HP, and you're using haste on it. But this means that you need Gruthel's Pelt. In case you don't know what Gruthel's Pelt is, it says regens 10% life per second and gives you a ton of flat life. So you give this to your Guardian, he will get like a lot more life, but he will most importantly out-regen the damage from Guardian's Blessing, the support. That's why this is mandatory for the swap. And then the last note is just to remember to fill in the jewel sockets and stuff. So over here you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's it, 4 jewel sockets. But then in the power charge stacking setup, you get a ton more. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you get way more jewel sockets. 4 options for jewels. You can use Flesh and Flame with Guardians, Arcane Blessing. This one here is the best in slot one. However, this one here is also like 40 Divines. So personally, I really like Sign of Purpose because it's very, very cheap because no build uses this. And it's also relatively useful for bursting down bosses when the brand duration is about to expire. This kind of builds into what I mentioned before with the 2 brand on Lycia thing. If you have Sign of Purpose, your brand for the last 25% of it, so it's like around 4 or 5 ticks, will double the activation ticks. So basically, instead of getting 16 ticks, I'm getting like 20 ticks. And the last like 8 ticks are all, sorry, like it's like the last 4 ticks, sorry, not 8, it's like 6 ticks of brand damage are all like compressed into half of the duration. So this is like useful. However, it doesn't increase the first hit damage. It takes time. You need to wait for the brand to be nearly expired for this to kind of proc and do giga damage. But yeah, so that's what I'm putting here and here. That's my Flesh and Flame. If you don't want to use Sign of Purpose, or if it's really expensive somehow, legit just use a jewel, right? Go to items, go to trade for items, pick the socket you want, and then click on it. So I'll show you an example. Sorry, that's a large cluster. Just pick socket 8. So socket 8. So you go this. Make sure this is full DPS only. And then click on the link. And then sort by the sum button here. And then add a price filter for chaos only. Okay, go buy these. Very cheap and they'll give you good damage. That's how you search up jewels. So if you don't want to use Flesh and Flame or you don't want to use Watcher's Eye, I'm not using a Watcher's Eye. You want to just buy those instead. One more thing I want to point out is the Militant Faith here. This Militant Faith needs to not remove 3 notables. This one here, this one here, this one here. You do not want to change these because you want these notable effects. The way you search this is when you go to find Timeless Jewel, then you go Militant Faith here, and you want Power Inner Conviction, and then you want to select the area, which is Minion Instability. Then click Filter Nodes. Now, you want to prevent the nodes from changing. So all 3 of these, you want to click Add. Add, Add, Add. And then you can select your devotion modifiers if you want, or you can just go sort by full DPS generate, and then search. And then copy traded URL, go to your browser, paste it in, and buy. Buy from bottom to top, and you can just look at the notables. So like this one here is pretty good. I might go buy this one. Actually, don't even know how much it actually gives because I don't know how much these notable gives. This is 5 devotion, 5 devotion, 5 devotion, 5 devotion. It's like actually like not the worst thing ever because there's 2 relevant notables. I'm gonna buy this right now. All right, I've cut off the buying part from the video. Okay, so basically once you get the setup running, following basically these conditions here, the main thing is you need enough regen to sustain RF. So the first 2 things you need to check is 1, you want to cap your fire res. So mine is at 76 because of my corruption on my chest piece, but you do not need this corruption. It works without it because I'm not using a corruption anymore and it's fine. But that's the first thing you want to do. You want to cap your RF. So the easiest way is to look for a 21 vitality or drop life from your gloves. These gloves are 2 divines and you do not need these gloves to have the cold damage line. The only lines that you care about is strength and dex and unnerve. That's it. Those 3 lines you want. The rest of them is like expensive tax. You don't need these lines. I bought them because I did not want to roll the Eldritch Currency for unnerve. I'm lazy. Okay, but do not buy something this expensive. You do not need it. It barely gives you any more damage. Like it's like 5% damage compared to like a one that doesn't have these mods on it. Maybe a little bit more than 5%, but it's whatever, right? You don't need it. Okay, so that's the reason why I had issues because I have a life roll on this. If you don't have a life roll on your gloves, you should not really have any issues with RF. But just look for 21 vitality because it gives you more. There is a new rune, sorry, not a rune graft. It's just a graft that gives an endurance charge, and endurance charges are nice because Replica Restless Ward, our chest piece, gives us life regen per endurance charge. So in the particular one I'm talking about, which I'm not sure if you'll see here. Oh, I'll just show you in game actually. Just give me a second. The particular graft you want, at least for this league, and this won't be relevant next league, is this one here with Tender Embrace. When you are on low life, this graft will periodically apply a buff, which grants you life regen and endurance charge. And it's just, you just get permanently 1 endurance charge when you run around in Sanctum, which then gives you extra 100 life regen from your chest piece, and also boosts your life regen here. See, 1 endurance charge permanently. It's just permanently up. Okay. That more or less covers the initial transition. Hop back into POB now. So, Oh, one more thing on that is you want to avoid the increased defenses boon because it makes you RF degen you. I had this and it degened me. I'm not really sure why, but something to keep in mind. The last thing is a brand mastery for jumping brands. So the one I'm particularly talking about is this one here. This is personal preference. If you do want to use this, feel free to take it, but I don't really think it's needed. And one more thing about this transition is make sure you get high dex. You need high dex on your amulet, and you want high dex on your gloves because your dex requirement is very, very tight on this setup. So right here, the dex requirement is 155 and I've got 162. I had to buy a new badge of the Brotherhood because I didn't have enough dex. And this is including clicking 2 dex nodes here, right? So I'm clicking a lot of investment into dex just to get there, to get haste up and running at max level. Okay, so at this point, 30 million damage, you should be able to do Sanctum 83s like super, super easily. If you want to push for relics, Balance of Terror relics, Blood of Innocence. The reason why Balance of Terror is because this relic doubles relics Lycia's HP. She takes 50% less damage, so you need even more damage to do this comfortably, right? So that's kind of these upgrades now are for pushing those type of relics or just having better quality of life while playing Sanctum, right? So the first thing is your Animated Guardian. You want a Kingmaker on its weapon. In that case, it's this one right here. It gives you nearby allies of Culling Strike and 50% to crit chance multiplier. That's why in the POBs for power charge stacking, you'll see in the config, not yet, in the next one, sorry, you'll see this in your config. That's from Kingmaker. But that's kind of what you wanted to get next. Once you get the 8% mana reservation node on the top right of the tree near CI, you can drop Renter's Gamble for another ring. So I forgot to mention this. When you're transitioning to PC stack, I'm trying to write this in here quickly. Ventor's Gamble with 5%. So that's why I'm using a Ventor's Gamble here, by the way. Sorry, the next one, right here, with 9%. Once you get to the next stage, so the mana reservation node I'm talking about right here is this one right here. Once you have this, you can drop your Ventor's Gamble and you can grab another damage ring. So you have a few options for damage ring. One, you have Calandra's Touch, which is not worth it for this ring because the Anguish ring I'm using is very, very cheap and very bad. The next one is another Circle of Anguish. However, you have one already, so you're getting diminishing returns. That's this one right here. So not recommended. Circle of Guilt, which is what I'm using, or a rare ring with an Arcane Surge on hit. It's personal preference. Circle of Guilt gives you Herald of Purity effect, which is just like another 12%, 14% more damage. And you can also get the increased physical damage while affected by Herald of Purity. And I'll just note quickly that for your Anguish, you probably want Fire Res while affected by Herald of Ash. I'm going to put that down as well. Okay, so it's just to cap your fire res, by the way. So at this point, around 45 to 50 million DPS. I've skipped a few steps here, right? But basically it's just top to bottom on this. So 45 to, you can do Balance of Terrors, and you can farm for your own one, which is the Elemental Weakness Balance of Terror. Now, so I'm just going to show you what that would actually look like. I think the gem level would be, I think it's like, it's around this DPS. The reason why I'm taking this down is because there's some upgrades that increase gem level that I'll talk about right now. It's kind of the biggest upgrades to push your damage even higher. So you should be around like this amount of DPS. This will be level 20, but you won't have the other upgrades that I do have. And I'll just walk through them now quickly. So those upgrades are all gem level related. The first one is Awakened Fire Damage, level 5. So over here, Awakened Fire Damage level 5. This is nice because it gives you +1 to supported physical skill gems, which is Penance Brand. So Penance Brand will get a +1 from this. Next, so if your one is not +1, you lose damage, right? Like 10 million damage. When it's +1, you get it. You get the effect. Because at level 4, it doesn't have it. But at level 5, it gets the extra line. The next one is a corrupted chest piece with +2 AoE or duration gems. So this chest piece right here, you see the corruption is +2 to socketed AoE gems. This applies to Penance brand, which is because Penance brand is socketed in it, which gives you 20% more damage, as you can see from this body armor. I think that's what it means. But 20% more damage. This chest piece is annoying to make. It is not expensive though. You buy the base. So if we go to POE trade right now, I'm just type in replica restless ward. Type in implicit duration gem level. Then go like all. So count 1 and implicit AoE gem level. So we can check the two. So it's really expensive. Obviously, check one of them. How much is this? None of the market. Check the other. How much is this? Also none of the market. I think we might have to go like instant buyout or something like this, maybe. No. Okay, they ran out. I guess you just keep waiting until... Oh, sorry. This should be 1, sorry. Oh, okay, they did not run out. There we go. 3 divines for the base. You have to link this yourself. The way you link this... So they're both around 3 divines. The rest of it you don't care about. The way you actually link this chest is you use... It's called Tainted Fusings. If you've never used these before, so Tainted Fusings. Tainted Orb of Fusing. So you use this item. This adds or removes the socket. So you basically want to craft your body armor up to 4 links. Sorry, 4 socket on the bench. And then you want to spam these until you get 2 in a row where you win the 50% chance to get it from 4 to 5 link and then 5 to 6 link. And the same thing applies for getting the sockets to 6. You craft 4 sockets on the bench, and then you use the Tainted Orb of Jewelers, I think it's called, or Tainted Jeweler Orb or something. That's one here. You use this one to get it from 4 to 5, and then you click it again, and you get it from 5 to 6, and then you do the fusings. Basically, the way you craft this. The way you do colors is you do 1 red craft on the bench. So this item is 88,122. So that's here, 88,122 with the 6 socket. And I want 2 red and 4 blue. So you see here, it says this is the best one to craft, but depending on the price of Tainted Chromatics, this may not be as good because Tainted Chromatics ignore the attribute colors. So like the weightings. So what I did is I spammed this one here, and it will cost you around 100 chroms and 100 Val Orbs. This is benchcraft. 1 red benchcraft, at least 1 red socket. That's how you make this chest piece. Not really that hard, but it can be annoying depending on your luck. But I think that more or less covers... Oh, sorry. The next... That's for this one right here. And then, in power level 4, it's like 5 divines. So my character in-game hasn't bought it, but I've put it in the POB just to show you the top damage that you need. And then level 21, 20 Pence brand. So this is the end result is that this will be like your damages. It's like 70 mil or so. It's easily enough to do Sanctum forever. You don't need to touch anything. And if you're skilled enough, this is kind of where you would do no-hit runs. So my KUAS, who is the Sanctum guy who makes a lot of no-hit run stuff, he's done no-hit runs around the stage with his DPS. And same for another Sanctum YouTuber called Electro POE. He's also did his no-hit run, I think, on day 2 with around this amount of DPS. But that's more or less it for the kind of Leaguestart to power charge stacking min-max before Mageblood. Now you're more or less saving for Mageblood. Once you get Mageblood, there are a few more upgrades you can get. The biggest one is a Heat Shiver with +1 power charge. So I'll just show the price of that. Heat Shiver, and you want to go implicit with power charge. So I don't think this is that expensive. It's like 3 divines. It's not really that expensive, but you don't have any... The res may be a bit of a struggle because it can be hard to get the res without the current crutch helmet I'm using, which is a gold rim with +1 power charge. But at this point, once you get your Mageblood, I'll just recommend you go to KUAS Spreadsheet, which I'll link in the description below. You go to the higher budget setup here, and you just look to play you look to do this, basically get the setup working. So in his case, there's +1 power charge on his helmet, and I think that's more or less a +1 power charge on the ring, and it's being mirrored, so it's +2 power charge on the ring. And so that's +1 that we already have, and this is +2. So it's another 2 more power charges from rings, which gives you a ton of more damage. But that's really it, I think, in terms of the min-max upgrades. You can use Taste of Hate. Mageblood also gives you a ton of damage, remember. You can go full Grand Design, 4 Grand Design clusters, which I only have 2, and then another one. You can get a better Faith Jewel, you can get better mods on your jewels. But yeah, that's more or less it in terms of pushing your build to the min-max. At this point, you're probably looking to either, you're done with Sanctum, looking to make a new character, or you're looking to make a no-hit runner, which I will just quickly show you some examples. Let me just see quickly. So, Penance brand and Annihilating Light. So this is kind of the no-hit runner kind of category, these two searches. You can take a look at some of these people examples. This is using this helmet, which is a bit different, but most of these no-hit runners are using this weapon. So this is probably the setup that I personally think is better. You're playing Annihilating Light with ZHP. You're playing a 8-link Penance brand helmet with just damage on your chest. Double Call of the Brotherhood with a simplex with massive range, brand range. And then your gloves will have converted to lightning and unnerve, as well as hits against chilled enemies. And brand attachment range, and your boots will have like brand attachment range, movement speed, res, regen, whatever, right? And then you can see here that he's using Grand Spectrums, he's using the Arcane Blessing, which is like the 40 Divine, Flesh and Flame, and minimum Frenzy Charge, as well as a Banners of Terror. So this is kind of what you can look to work towards next. This is a no-hit runner though. It has literally 0 HP. Look at the reses, right? It only cares about 5 res for Righteous Fire, everything else just dumps, like whatever, does not care at all. If you get hit, you will die. Purely for no-hit runs, nothing else. But yeah, I think that more or less wraps it up for full progression. I think I spoke a little bit fast, but hopefully it all makes sense. And for me personally, I will be going for Mageblood next, or maybe some of these upgrades that I'm missing from here. So I'm missing the Empower and the Penance brand gem. But after that, probably going to go for Mageblood. I may go for the +1, what's it called? The +1 power charge ring, we'll see. But that's really it for Sanctum progression, and this should get you started basically pushing your Sanctum character to the max. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up the video here before it gets too long. The POB will be in the description below, and KUAS spreadsheet will be in the description below, and I'll also put in Electro's no-hit runner spreadsheet, POB as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope your league start went well. I didn't play that much this league, so unfortunately I couldn't push my Mageblood by week 1, but hopefully I should get Mageblood by week 2 or week 3, whatever. I'm going to take it easy and a bit more slower this league, because still busy with real life stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested, like, subscribe, whatever, comment, got questions, and I'm out. Thanks for watching.